Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Paul Sanderson, for our webinar on how AI automation is going to be used to accelerate your business. Joint webinar with Amplience and the commerce team. So, hello from a very rainy London. We hope you're going to enjoy the coming couple of moments where it's good to have you. So what we want to do is let you know what we're hoping to achieve in this webinar. There's a couple of key takeaways. AI is everywhere. We want to see certain use cases and how it can be used. And in particular, we're very interested in how automation can be used to help make your teams work faster, more efficiently, how you can break into new markets, again, all using AI. From an automation perspective, what's the best AIs to use? What are the best methods for adopting it, and what are the tools and how does it apply to your business? As we said, AI is everywhere. Where is the best tools? What is the services that we are finding as a joint set of teams that brands and retailers are really using to accelerate their business? So hopefully you're going to enjoy today. A couple of housekeeping rules. We are recording the session, obviously. Please feel free to add any questions as and when they crop up into the chat box that's available in Zoom. And what we'll do is we've provided a section towards the end where we'd like to go through some of those Q&As. So please do add in any questions that you might have. So without any further ado, I want to kind of give you a view of a brief introduction into Amplience and what we are. Amplience, we are a content AI company. We've been long known for providing content and systems to brands and retailers, some of the best in the world. We're quite proud about our customers and what they've used and how they continue to use the services. But really what we want to do is talk about how Amplience, revolutionizes the way that brands manage that content, brands and retailers, and how we can bring AI into every step of the journey, from the content production side as well as down to the publishing. Our solutions and what we want to focus on today is how we can enhance that content creation process, taking away some of the tedious tasks while making your teams more efficient and giving them more flexibility to react to market conditions in this ever-evolving digital landscape. So we really are proud of our customers. We are a retail verticalized SaaS solution, really focused on the commerce journey. We have some amazing customers that are giving these experiences to their end consumers and their end customers, and we're very proud of them. We do this through the Amplience platform, and the foundation is that content creation process where we look at the asset side of things. So where you have our post-production DAM, that single source of truth for all of your assets and media, where we can optimize using a dynamic media and accelerated content or accelerated media capabilities, passing it through to our content CMS management, where we can do things like content authoring and modeling. Scheduling and calendaring is a really important part of our solution. Gone are the days where you need to sort of wait until 4 o'clock in the morning to put products live and promotions live. We can do this all automated for you. Real-time visualization, that taking the guesswork of everything away so we can give you a true view of what you're going to be looking at what's going live. We do this through our media delivery APIs, where we have global coverage and multi-CDN architectures. And being in the e-commerce retail space, we wouldn't be anywhere without our partners and that ecosystem, where we look at all of the e-com providers, all of a number of capabilities, all within that ecosystem, and bringing those all in together. We do power some of the most amazing brands across the world, over 450 brands and retailers on all 4 corners of the planet. We're very proud of all of them. I won't go into any of them in particular. I think we have some customer statements later on where we can talk about some use cases that they've helped to bring. But enough from the Amplience side of things. What I want to do is introduce, as I said, my partner in crime, Paul Sanderson from the commerce team. Paul, do you maybe want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks. Well, first of all, Kieran. So I'm Paul Sanderson. I'm the CEO of the commerce team global. So probably a few of you are thinking, what is our role within this webinar? So we are one of Amplience's trusted partners. we're effectively the people who take the technology and use it to integrate with the client. We are very simply a system integrator. We make sure that the technologies are connected, and ultimately you're getting as much value out of Amplience as being promised. Our role in this is really to get you to market as quickly as possible, expedite the implementation, and ultimately see a return on investment as soon as possible. We've just gone to the next slide, Kieran. So yeah, ultimately our role is relatively simple. We connect the commerce technologies. We are ultimately focused on the consumer, as anybody who is facing any digital touch point. We are focused on the solutions for the end consumer, but ultimately ensuring that the technology delivers and enhances the experience. Just moving on, Kieran. So we like to think we're a little bit different from the rest who are out there, all the many agencies, but ultimately we work with businesses very closely, and we collaborate with businesses, ultimately providing services and technology that customers not only think they need, but actually they want as well. So it's about us working in a collaborative manner, and we are built on the foundations of being experts within commerce. So we are thoroughly focused on commerce. That is our dedicated and sole offering as a business, but we understand the technology, the end user, and primarily around the commerce technologies. And with the expectations of any delivery partner, it's about efficiency, quality, and ultimately seeing an investment pay off. Ours is a true collaborative approach. We are focused on the solutions, but it doesn't stop there. Does it continue to deliver? Are you driving your business forward in terms of delivering against objectives and the end experience? Moving on from that one, Kieran. So how do we do that? We work with some of the leading platform providers in terms of your e-commerce ecosystem. Our key partners are listed here. I don't need to really run through, but we are a specialist in commerce and integration. So platform agnostic, but ultimately we work throughout the ecosystem to meet the needs of you primarily and your customer. So if we just skip on to the next one, and we do this for a number of clients, whether in the UK, from a global perspective, but you can see there the types of brands we work with are predominantly retail. These are all brands we've established relationships with, understand the ecosystem in terms of the technology requirements, and ultimately delivering for them against what they are promising to their end consumer. So this is the role of the commerce team within this webinar, and as a customer first business, we'll be looking at how, as a business, you can adopt and ultimately use AI as a solution, but understanding how that works for you as a business and how you also adopt what seems a scary topic for many businesses, but ultimately trying to steer you in the right direction and support you appropriately as well. Thanks, Kieran.
So thanks, Paul. So as you sort of say, I love these sessions because obviously from the vendor, as we're creating these solutions, we love working with partners such as the commerce team, where we can bring these solutions to life and those real workings and those real use cases. And, you know, we're seeing it's an ever-evolving landscape in retail at the moment. There's a lot of headwinds. There's a lot of quick wins that customers are looking to achieve. And around the AI, we kind of looking at how that can be applied or how that can make life a little bit easier. And we kind of look at the challenges that brands and retailers face today. It really is ever changing. You know, Paul and I spoke about, 2024 is going to be the year of change. And what is going to really move the dial? I think we spoke about, speed over scale, for example, is long gone are the days of when we talk about scale being the performance of the scale that you can reach. The new scale is how quickly can we adopt content, or how quickly can we get our products online. Everybody talks about known events, your Black Fridays, your Cyber Weeks, your Christmases. Those are the easy things to be able to address. You can schedule, as we spoke about. But what happens when something comes left of field and you need to react quickly? Whether you've had an influencer or a hype event, people talk about the Barbie movies, you have the Stanley Cups. How can you capitalize upon that event quickly? That content creation process, when you really look at it, it sometimes is quite slow. There's a lot of
And I
dead
think,
time, there's a lot of moving things back and forward. I think, Paul, you were seeing this as well.
yeah, I think the key here is obviously we're in a very changing landscape. We in today's world, I don't think we really know what's around the corner, but it's around having the foundations and equally the technology that enables you to pivot as quickly as possible. So I think the days of trying to deliver large scale projects over a very prolonged period is only paralyzing the capability. This is about how you can adapt and adopt what the customer's needs are on a more agile basis, but ultimately having the foundations to be able to accommodate that as well.
Yeah, I think we were talking about, the point that we call here the Maclash, where customers are, they have systems that are up and running, and the Mac principles allow them to look at technologies and things that are going to, really move the dial. They don't have to look at those big replatforming projects. They can now look at within domains or within key areas of their business to say, how can I improve things? How can I make things better? And what is going to give me a better bottom line? And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be, we'll hopefully show with AI how you can adopt it quite quickly and easily and make small incremental changes, because again, you're going to be able to test and adopt and change and try. This is really a paradigm shift from what we've been sort of seeing in the last number of years. And from the agility, as I said before, we don't know what's around the corner. Those unplanned events are always coming, whether those are supply chain or product availability or the weather. Who would have ever thought in the middle of February in the UK we'd be getting some, quite warm sunshine. How can you react to these events? So customers are doing this in a couple of ways, and brands are doing this in a couple of ways. AI is everywhere, as we said. We're going to talk about some of the services today. And what we're going to focus on is around brand and shopping context. We're going to talk about generalized AI models and tools that are available, which do a really good job, but they don't quite do it, to its best extent. And how we can look at using context around your shopper, your shopping experience, and your brand to really enhance what your brand merchandising trading teams are doing today. We're also going to talk about the democratization of content creation, how gone are the days of you having the luxury of being able to create images or wait for images from photo studios to change backgrounds, to put it into a different setting. How do you speed up that entire process from start to finish? Anything you'd like to add on those, Paul?
Yeah, I think again, I think the last point around digital transformation, I think, and have seen many, I suppose, projects try to encompass transformation, usually over a long period of time. And I think we are in a position now where if we have the right solutions in place and also the right culture within the business, I think it is about incremental gains. It is about people thinking first around the ability to make small marginal gains. And I think, yeah, gone are the days where a 2-year project is needed for transformation. I think it is very much, ironically, in a conversation about AI, it's about people adopting the right mindset and the understanding that the incremental change over a period of 6 to 12 months is likely to give you more impact and bigger return than a 2-year big large scale change among the business. So culture is one thing that we see amongst our clients is what drives them forward. It's not always the technology. So again, it's an AI subject, very technically led, but usually the thing that's holding the technology back, ironically, is the people. There's technology solutions that we all know and love, and it's about using the right solution for your business that can adapt to change.
Yeah, I think the people part of it is so important. A lot of customers that we speak to are concerned of, is this going to take over our jobs? Is this going to, have a material impact on what I can do? Thankfully, I think as we're going to talk about is that there's still a role to be played in the augmentation, the validation side of AI and how that can be used. But also people are testing these tools. How do you do it in a responsible way? How can you test it? How can you show that value before, as you say, going all in and adopting everything? It's also from the tooling perspective, I think we'll talk about it, is there is no one single tool that I've seen so far that can do everything. So what we're finding is it's becoming the right tool at the right place at the right time. And how does that work? So really kind of from the point of view of AI and shopping content, what we see is the traditional content creation process is costly and it's slow and it's fraught with manual steps and passing it from team to team and roles and responsibilities. For those planned events are quite easy to work with, but when you're under the cosh and you really need to get something out quickly and easily, that's where we're afforded opportunities to speed things up. I think AI is going to allow the content authors, the marketers, the merchants, the ability to create content that they've never created before, working with those content creation teams where they can augment and change and swap videos and images and text, in real time so that they can execute it across all of their channels. We've always been talking about that omni-channel view. I really think this is a way for us to optimize the content that can be delivered across those channels.
Just to add to that, I think also, as we've seen over the last number of years, it's about a certain degree of control and ownership as well. So whereas ourselves will help you with the delivery, the implementation, and ultimately maximizing the solution, you are reducing your dependency on other areas of the business, as Kieran mentions, around being able to scale at a speed that your business can cope with. So very, very important. You've got the control, you've got the capability. It's in your hands to test, learn, and basically optimize, making those incremental gains in a very, very fast manner. So sorry, Kieran, I just want to add that one from a perspective.
No, that's absolutely really important. And it's also, I think, going to in the inverse of that. What you're going to quickly find is you have the ability to create, and that test side of things is really important, where if you're going to be using content, for example, for translations or breaking into other markets, if you're going to use AI to translate from English into German, you might as well do French and Italian at the same time. That opens up a wealth of opportunity for you to break into other markets. And really, I think what it's going to allow us is it's allowing smaller teams to do more. When we look at shopping experiences, we always think about the big brands, the big teams that have, lots of resources, lots of things that they can play with and try and test. You're looking at for smaller organizations who have maybe smaller, leaner teams, they're now able to keep up with those big teams because they're able to use the tooling in such a way that allows them to bring out stuff that's personalized, that's relevant, that is engaging in a way that they were never able to do before. I think from the AI perspective, and we'll talk about it in a couple of moments, is the generic AIs. We often get a lot of customers sort of saying, we've seen DALL-E and we've used ChatGPT and we've used all these things. They can do a really good job. But again, we're going to show through this presentation, hopefully, that those models lack the understanding of your products, of your brand tone and voice, your location, and to use, as you said, Paul, is when you have that, AI sometimes gets it wrong, or needs a bit of coaching or continual learning. This is giving us the opportunity. You have to have that power to say, is this correct? Is this right? Before it goes out and before it goes to the greater world, that you approve its publishing or you're happy with its tone, and that you can feed back in that it learns as we go along. And hopefully that's why we'll show you as we progress through. So I think kind of over to Paul, how do you see businesses using AI to get ahead today?
Thank you, Kieran. So I just want to almost set the scene because I think everybody's heard so much about AI over the last year. There's certainly a sense in the market, oh, we're behind, we're adopting, we are, and I think in the rare case we are increasing profitability. We are seeing a shift change to the bottom line. But I just want to set the scene really in terms of this is obviously a global phenomenon. I think it's certainly driven the next digital, and I don't use this word lightly, revolution. And I think we'll get onto the reasons why shortly. But I think just to sort of ensure that everyone is aware, I think sometimes we've always seen the United States, the United Kingdom, certainly leading the Western market in terms of how to adopt new technology. But I think as this slide shows, in terms of exploring and deploying AI, we are seeing a shift in terms of technology capability from some of the what we'd see as the mass market emerging economies overtake the traditional, let's call them. So I think yes, it demonstrates everybody is playing a role. Some people are doing it a little bit faster than others, but ultimately, engagement is across a global scale. This is not just isolated to where we live or the companies that we work for. If we just move on to the next one, Kieran. So I think the other key part is, and the other huge advantage I would say is it helps with skill shortages. Recruitment is always costly. This is not replacing people, but these are skill shortages in the market that a lot of people face time and time again. And again, it can be local, it can be even the size of the business, the appeal of the business. The list is pretty endless, really. So in terms of skill shortages, also being able to enable businesses to operate as functionally efficiently as possible. We can see here some of the key areas that AI is being adopted to accommodate those skill shortages. And that's anything from the recruitment process through to actually learning and development, through to actually the more manual, mundane tasks, which, as we can see there, is the biggest percentage out of the lot. And as we all know, it will and is gathering pace at also enabling development to move at a faster pace than previously set. Just moving on to the next one, Kieran. And then how are businesses using AI today? And I deliberately included this. This is actually data from 2022, but again, I think it just sets the scene on how the pace of change is moving. But at the same time, we need to be realistic about how people are adopting this through the mainstream verticals that their business or industry is within. So we can see automation playing a key part. We can see that being a thread through most businesses. In some businesses, yes, it's going to be more efficient than others. It's driving intelligence and insights, as well as being able to monitor. And I think there's some areas there that do scare some verticals within the industry, in terms of conversation, in terms of intelligence and analytics. Is it listening into everything? Is it monitoring everything that we do? To some degree, depends who is answering. It is certainly learning all the time. And then we've all played around to chat GPT, so the ability to create content, whether it's for sales and marketing, but also being able to analyze data. So this can be on a grand mass data scale. It can be around personal financial. It can also be around any business. So as we use and interact more and more with online, and by the way, this is not new to all the payment providers out there. This is analysis and basically business data for the last 10 years. So what we're seeing is the adoption is hitting mainstream, but actually some of this technology has been building at scale over a progressive amount of time. Just moving on to the next one, Kieran. And then we go to how to choose the right AI for your business. And I think even hearing Kieran last year, this is about using the right tool for the right job. So no better than the man himself to actually explain his theory behind this.
Yeah, no, thanks, Paul. It really is. You know, we speak to a lot of customers, and as you say, AI is everywhere. And there's a lot of tools out there, and customers are afforded with the choice of what tools should we use, how should we use them. And I want to address specifically the general AI tools. You know, we've done a lot of testing, and they do a pretty good job. But without what we term shopping context, it's a little bit of a you'll notice what is wrong. You know, we used an example with this is a general AI tool that we used where we gave it a task to say take a Crate and Barrel Adirondack chair. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. And we gave it a prompt to sort of say give it put it onto a patio by the ocean in the summer in Cape Cod. So on the left-hand side is the actual product, and on the right-hand side is that AI representation of what it thinks it should be. It looks pretty similar, but that's not the chair. If I, ordered and saw that online and I ordered that, I'd be somewhat disappointed because, I was looking for the Adirondack that chair. So without that shopping context, without knowing your products, your brand, or your voice, you can get some mixed results. And for brands and who are iconic, who are focused on their identity, this doesn't quite come up to scratch. So hopefully we showing the capabilities that we're using in Amplience, we're trying to address this. So we have this concept of what we call ACE, and that is that content and AI should be applicable, contextual, and efficient. From an applicability perspective, it should be solving customers' specific needs and requirements, getting content out quicker, translations, dropping backgrounds. It needs to be within the workflow. I spoke, there's a number of tools out there that you could move away from that interface and copy and paste in that swivel chair motion. That's kind of things we've been trying to get away from for a long time. Being able to embed this technology into the content creation process, the right tooling at the right time is so important. That context, knowing your brand voice, what your products are called, how they look, how the services that you provide, the products, and your brand promise. And it has to be efficient. It has to be quick, intuitive, and easy for you to use so that your teams will adopt it. So really, we are focused on this whole concept of ACE. When we start looking at the content creation process, as I said, you have this kind of view of top left-hand corner is what we call our traditional content. This is your content that your Cyber Week, your Black Fridays, your Valentine's Days we spoke about, your known scheduled content that you've planned and you've built. We have a lot of capabilities that speak to this today, and we have a lot of capabilities down the bottom right-hand side, which is those unplanned, unpredictable events. Those events that you want to take advantage of and capitalize upon, where you can use AI to go and create this content, whether it's creating blog posts and translating it and changing it and getting something up and running quickly. But unfortunately, probably fortunately for us, is that's not quite there yet, because a lot of these toolings, as they're learning and as they're evolving, they need what we term augmentation and validation, which is the human element. So as I get the systems to create things in bulk, or as I create it within that content creation process and flow, I want to see what it's doing. I want to measure and I want to see, and I want to be able to tweak so that it's continually learning. So we really have that best of both worlds, where we provide tooling for the traditional content, we provide tooling for the AI content, but at all times you have complete control and visibility of the content that you're putting out when you're putting it out. And we do this through a couple of ways. I gave you a brief preview earlier around the base platform with our asset management content and content delivery. We've created a number of applications, so generative AI alt text generation, our image studios that are coming out, our editorial generations. We're merging this with generative AI. We're bringing it into NLP and machine learning engines. We're using a number of shopping models that have been tuned and built to reflect your brand voice, your brand identity. And we use a number of back-end AI capabilities, whether it's OpenAI or Blick2 or Stable Diffusion, and many more. To the end user and to the marketeers and the content authors, it's totally transparent to them. They just know that they have the right tool in their hands as and when they need it. So again, as you sort of said, is we're looking at this from a shopping perspective, as you said, Paul, within AI in the general sense, whether it's fraud detection and so on. We are just looking at the content creation process. How do I get content that's relevant and personalized and engaging out to your customers and consumers at the right place at the right time? We often get kind of asked is, where's the good place to start with AI automation? And Paul, maybe you've a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, so first of all, start simple. I think that's the key thing, and I think what we see across the whole landscape is it's got to work for your business. You know your business better than anybody else. As Kieran mentions, there are endless tools out there. Some work better for you than others. Some are at low cost, some are at slightly higher cost, but ultimately you have to pick the right tool that is going to work for your business. The biggest challenge would be trying to adopt this and it failing. Trying to do this a second time is so much harder. You'll get a lot of skepticism. So it's really key that when adopting such a game-changing solution, you find a solution that works for your business. And when should it be done? Ultimately, there's never going to be a perfect time. There's never going to be a perfect plan. But starting somewhere is better than nothing. No matter how small, understand what is needing to be changed. So as part of what we sort of classify as I suppose the discovery period, this is about understanding your business, how you can be and have confidence in its adoption across your business, and setting yourself up for success ultimately is the key part of adoption and success. So be realistic at the same time. You've all seen the challenges with implementing new technology, how it can also be not bought into, not engaged. As I mentioned earlier on, people can be the biggest blocker to technology, even though it's been around for a long time. But this is about engaging people around the business. So it is an adoption challenge. You are dealing with people to ultimately improve how they use the technology in a way that works for your business. And just moving on to the next one, Kieran. So there's definitely a case of planning. So starting simple, understand what are the repetitive tasks within your business. What draw out the lengthy processes, time-consuming manual processes such as data entry, such as inquiries. I think looking across any business, looking at all stakeholders across any business, you'll be able to come up with a starting point. And again, look at how and quickly each department will adopt those. It doesn't need to cover everything. Try and reduce the noise and the skepticism around it. Yes, it's all about choosing the right tool. Don't jump into the complex stuff. That will come later. It's all about user-friendly adoption. So whether it's chatbots, whether it's just simple data analysis, moving on to the next point, it is about starting small and scaling up. So understand what is going to work for you. Understand key part of this is understanding the impact you anticipate it will have versus the actual what it will have. Optimize, refine before looking at other areas, but not in a position where the adoption is going to suffer or indeed going to be a main source of lack of buy-in throughout the business. And yeah, it couldn't be any more true that this is about helping employees, not replacing them. Take the mundane stuff, take the heavy lifting off the team so that they can actually focus on, first of all, things what they enjoy, things that are going to make a difference, and not getting bogged down in the day-to-day grind of a process that can be handled by automation and AI. And ultimately, AI needs humans. Humans need AI to be able to transform their business. There is tangible benefit to both sides of the fence here. So not to sort of swing too much one way towards AI, but equally the other way in not adopting it whatsoever. Both will impact a business and ultimately stop you moving forward with easy to start tools that will transform the way that you work. And then lastly, moving on to the next one. And then lastly, stay focused. It's very easy to become distracted. It's very easy to look at the next big priority, the next big change that you could do. Stick to your goals of what you're trying to achieve. Ultimately, you're learning small and then being able to scale up, but don't try something too big too soon. Stay focused with the goal at hand. The continuous learning, it sort of speaks for itself. AI thrives on data, as we know. The tool will improve its accuracy and effectiveness over time, as will your continuous learning as well. So I was joking with Kieran earlier on, and I said it's about, as well as AI learning on the job, there is a certain element and part that the human learns on the job. But as long as there is a goal and at least strategic principles behind it, then you stand every chance of succeeding. And then the last couple of points is confidence comes assurance. So automation, yes, it's easy to say automate as much as possible. Start small, but yes, look at the mundane tasks. Once you are confident, let it help. Let AI in through the door and let it take the tasks that you don't necessarily need people doing on a day-to-day basis. And ultimately, this will require some investment. This will be either human time, resource, equally the technology itself. But as with anything, understand whether it's worked by measurement. Establish KPIs, understand the changes. There will inevitably be some surprises in there, some anomalies, but as we say around continuous learning is giving it time to actually adopt. Some practices adopt and the effectiveness improves quicker than others. But hopefully, as you establish the goals from the initial outset, you at least set an expectation as well. And if your company is overwhelmed, intimidated, just unsure on how to approach this, then reach out to somebody that does. Ask for expert advice. I think as we learn more about AI, there will be more and more resources available, more and more help available, and ultimately more and more solutions. There's lots to listen to, lots to understand, but on a very much going back to the first point that I've said, choose the right tool for your business and give it the best chance of being adopted. So yeah, that's our, I would say, approach to AI, and hopefully that's something that resonates with everybody on how to make the most of it and give it the best chance possible.
Yeah, I love how you put those points, Paul. It's a very similar approach that we're seeing with customers, is testing out something small, gain that experience with it, gain the trust in it before you move through. I think there is that risk that customers will, with so many services out there, it's putting it in a controlled manner is also quite important. From a security perspective, from a cost perspective, that swivel chairing again, we've all done trying to have avoided it for so long. You don't necessarily want to bring that back into it. So having those tools built in to the right place at the right time is so important. That continual learning as well, it's going to get better. And by it getting better, the thing we find you put very eloquently in your first point is that you're taking the mundane, tedious tasks away from your good people. Is you're giving them the flexibility to be creative, to be bold, to try more things. By being able to try those, by testing it, you're going to see what's happened, and you're going to be able to adapt, and you're going to be able to change very quickly to see how things are working. So we love that. And in Amplience, we have a number of capabilities that we spoke about. Some of these are available all in our AI playground. So please don't go to amplience.com and have a look at our playgrounds. We have things like our AI assistant, which is the ability to create using AI generative content within our workflow, within our text editors. You can do that. Taking those mundane tasks away is alt text generation. Because we have all your image assets and media within the platform, we can run a process of recognition, both from a point of view of finding discoverability of the media, but also from an accessibility perspective. So at a click of a button or through an automated process to bring in what is a textual description of that image that you're presenting. Keyword and SEO analysis, favorite topic for a lot of merchandising content authoring teams is, what are the best keywords? What are the best tags that I should do with this? Let AI do that for you. With a click of a button, I can get 20 keywords presented onto a blog article rather than me trying to kind of come up with all of those. Title generation, text translations, translations is a really interesting thing for us from an international perspective of how do I create content in my mother tongue and translate it out to other languages for other locales. It's one that we constantly get. That brand voice and sentiment analysis, is the content that I'm publishing on brand, is it deviating? How do I measure and how do I track on certain metrics as to, is it approved? Is it worthy of publishing? The image manipulation, as I said, background removal, adding in layering, background generation, content generation schema. There's a huge amount that we're taking those manual tasks away, giving the content authors and creators the ability to test and try and do new things in ways that they were never able to do before. So we actually, as I said, from that incremental adoption perspective, we had a lovely discussion with Stephanie Evans from Tapestry, who was using our alt text generation capabilities that was natively added into the platform. It says that it's being able to automate the recommended description with the click of a button. We can actually automate that even further, Stephanie, so we can have it generated automatically. But as she calls out, that it's detailed and it's been greatly received by our users. And they're using more and more of our AI capabilities and services as we're releasing them into the platform. And we have this vision. Anyone that's seen an Amplience demo before, we deliver that experience from the homepage to the PDP to the PLP and everything in between. We can control that experience, so we can create different types of content, whether those are blog pages or image carousels or banners. What we're doing within our AI content studio is we're trying to, using natural language processing, is giving you prompt engineering to and the ability to create using an NLP prompt to say, I want to go and create a piece of content. Because we have those integrations into backend systems as well, we also get access to things like CDP data. So when I'm going to create a piece of content, who do I want to target it to? This isn't synchronization. This is calling back to the system of record to find the correct segment or the correct customer group that I'm going to show. And because we know your product as well, we link into, I want to create, in this case, a blog article for Gen Z with a minimalist living room for the fall featuring a timber and love seat product. So again, the AI services are going to pull all of these and orchestrate it together. And it's going to give you an interface where you can see and you can approve and you can tweak and you can change it. At all times, as you go through that process and you're changing and you're modifying and you're playing with the content, we're tracking from an accessibility perspective or readability or SEO or your brand voice compliance. We're giving you constant recommendations as to what is the best thing for you to do at that point in time to make this content more engaging. Being able to do this, you can create content quickly and easily in what we call variants. So if you're doing it for this market, we can then also do things like translations, or we can modify the images that instead of it being a loft, it's an attic or an apartment. That tone of voice, if I'm going to create it into US English and translate it into Spanish in this case as well, why don't I do it across all of those languages and all of those locales that I might wish to break into or expand my reach into?
So I'll jump through this relatively at pace, but ultimately, the second point there is the truest fact, I think, is the train is out of the station. It's getting faster. There's no stopping it. So embracing AI is almost it's not really an option to duck out of it, because it will happen regardless. And as we've seen through the ages of digital adoption, last year was the explosion of AI, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily landed with everybody and it's been accepted by everybody. So I'm sure the majority of people on this call will have understood the sort of typical penetration of the bell curve, what we see here. So we're definitely in that period of innovation and early adopters at the moment. And then as we see more maturity, then we'll see more take up and hitting mass market as we then go down to the what we would count as the laggards. So it's a natural bell curve in terms of the adoption of AI as it stands at the moment. But not forgetting, it's going to change things. It's going to change things significantly. So it's a case of jumping on board the train and getting the benefit out of it as much as you can, taking the benefits, but also doing it in a responsible manner. Just go on to the next one, Kieran. And when I say that the train is out of the station and it's only get faster, this here shows and illustrates what mainstream penetration looks like in the US for technology. So I'm not going to quite use electricity because I think that's a bit probably in the darker ages, but we can see here the telephone to hit mainstream adoption and penetration took 35 years. The smartphone took 5. Equally, the PC took 16. So we can see there through the evolution of the technology, AI is likely to be less than 5 years. I think there'll be some arguments that it will eventually get to months. I think we're a little way off that, but in terms of the adoption, this illustrates perfectly as we get more and more advanced with technology and its capability, the adoption is going to be faster. So starting small is adopting. Gaining mass momentum and mass buy-in will happen very quickly. So I just want to flag that to sort of set the scene as one of the final areas that to be mindful of more than anything, that it is worth starting because we start somewhere. Others, your competitors, equally how you adopt it in the home, are all going to come into play at a very, very quick pace and faster than ever. And just going to the next one, Kieran. And then that wraps us up in terms of what we wanted to go through. So we're finishing off with any Q&A that anybody would like to ask.
I think
Feel free.
we do have a couple. Probably one that's kind of come in was how can I effectively moderate and validate content produced by AI? By Amplience, I suppose is a good way. But it's really it's that control process, putting the AI services in the context of your content creation process. Having, it's not really changed from if you were having standard content. Test it, try it, learn from it. But you have that approval process, or you have that review process before you put content live. I think is probably one that I would suggest. That Paul, if you have anything to add, I think I have another question here for you as well.
I think it is about moderation. I think it's also about the positioning of your business. So as you mentioned, particularly certainly with whether it's brand heritage or personality, these are the things that are still going to take time to develop. So also you want to create your unique point of view, which, yes, understandably, humans are still as creative as AI can be. So don't be afraid to almost take on board the good foundations of what it can do, but layer on the real, I would say, human touch to capitalize and create the true differentiator.
Thanks. And one I think is down around your street is, my team is hesitant to use AI, and they have a fear that it will replace them. How can I manage this, or what do you think?
I would say it's more down to a culture change. I think it's accepting that the business needs to onboard, adopt, but I think the business is best positioned to make their judgment on what is the best starting point. We've talked about keeping things simple, but understand what the different capabilities are. You might have a different skill set in your business, so I think that's also drives the outcome and the choice. But ultimately, I think if you follow the principles of enablement, transformation, and not undermining the human component, then hopefully people will understand It's all about collaboration with AI and not necessarily replacement of their roles. So there's one chance to get the adoption right. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. That is probably the last thing I want to say is be very mindful that people can have a bad perception, and you need to overcome those to be able to be successful.
Yeah, and I think it's about familiarity. I think you put it very well there that this is a tooling. Tools can be very powerful in the right hands when you learn to use them and you try them, you test them, and it's growing that familiarity. When you're familiar with it, and you can understand how it works, that's when you can start getting, things working. I have another one. Apart from content, which areas do you see businesses focusing on in terms of adopting AI, and can you provide some use cases? I think that's probably the use cases that you spoke about in your part of your presentation, Paul, in that AI services are everywhere within businesses. Are there any in particular that you would see your customers focusing on?
I think certainly from my experience as well, and I've not just been an agency side, but I've been a client for a long time during my career, and um, it's about the production, and it depends on the scale of change that your business requires. So if you're getting 5 new products through per week, it doesn't feel such a hard piece of work to publish content. If you're getting 150 products per week, trust me, that is very difficult. And I think in terms of that is understanding what that process looks like and understanding where the efficiencies can be gained. Because when you're repeating a process or asking a team to repeat a process countless numbers of times, then it's working across the business to understand those repetitive areas that are basically stifling your team from being able to move forward. But I think it certainly it can be adopted throughout every aspect of every business. It depends on the approach. So it's an individual basis. I think there's some good examples out there of how people are doing it, particularly around logistics, particularly around the whole planning, even agriculture as well. Because if there's one thing none of us can do is predict the weather, but we can also react to the weather as well. So I think going back to some of the original statements, it gives you the agility, the ability to change and react if you have the right processes and the ability to impact change in a positive way.
Thank you, Paul. So I think that's all the questions we have. Again, this was the first episode of our webinar. We hope that you enjoyed it. We really, I thoroughly enjoyed the last 55 minutes of the session. Thank you very much for all the questions as well. We're looking forward to the next session, which is coming up shortly on March 7th, which is, human and AI collaboration. What is a recipe for success? We would really like you to visit the Commerce Team's website. We'll send this presentation on later on. And really, if you'd like to see what we were talking about today from an Amplience perspective, please do go to amplience.com, have a play with our trials, our playgrounds, book a demo. We'd love to speak to you. We'd like to thank everybody for your time. Paul, any last comments?
No, I think similar, Kieran, been really enjoyable. I think it's a very debatable subject. I think nobody has all the answers as well. So it's always quite fun to sort of talk through how it will implement change. But yeah, I think thank you to everybody for attending. I hope you did find it useful. And yeah, it would be great to connect and work with Amplience in trying to solve some of these issues for you. So thank you everybody for attending, and yeah, there we go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.